Are you 2 years from retirement? Or like literally 2 days from retirement? Do this now. Right this second. You have to right this second. Do this now. All right, look, I got my little mic here. It is a mic that clips up to my laptop where you can hear me without even seeing your old buddy Josh. Pretty cool, huh? Because some people say, you talk too loud, you talk too soft. I am a kind of soft-spoken guy. Kind of soft-spoken. Me and Bob over there. Shh, we're kind of soft-spoken. Ah! Faked you. All right. Talking to these guys today. All right. They're good to go. They have real estate. They got 70-30 portfolio, and they're getting, they got some rental real estates. All right, so they got some rental income from the real estate. What are you doing, baby? Pablo, you want to go outside? All right, let Pablo outside. All right, so they're sitting on rental real estate plus a 70-30 portfolio. You going outside? Plus their Social Security. So their rental real estate is essentially a bond. It's kind of the way I look at it, like a bond, almost like a dividend, if you will. Except unlike a stock, that dividend can go down to zero. The rental real estate actually has a value. There's literally an asset there that you can literally touch, you can see, you can hold on to. You know what I'm saying? And you can sell. And most likely it won't go down to zero like a dividend stock could, and most dividend stocks don't. But that's not you or me. We don't have that kind of money. Most of us don't. And these guys are just hardworking people. The same old story. She drives a Toyota. He drives a Ford F-150. Both paid. I literally talked to somebody a couple days ago. She drove a 2013 Toyota Corolla. He drove a 2001 Ford F-150. I was laughing. I said, yep, same old story. Can they retire? Of course they can retire. All right. Now, those guys are a better example. In fact, I was talking to a guy just the other day, too. Has this 401k over at Fidelity. And it's in a portfolio kind of like, it's probably 70-30 stocks to bonds. 70-30 stocks to bonds. So in my right capital, I'm giving him a 5.3% expected rate of return. I think our standard deviation was 10.5. All right, so SD deviation. So what does that mean? That means on any given year, we'd expect his rate of return to be 5.3%. Or if you look at it like this, that's not a good drawing. Let me do this a little bit differently. You'd expect a bell. Oh, that's really bad. Oh boy. Let me do this again. Try to make it better. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. You'd expect it to be something like that. 5.3. All right. That's a standard deviation, 5.3. But around here, within 66% of the time, you would have plus minus 10.5. 90, I think it's 95% of the time, it would be plus minus 21. And then 90, I think it's 99.8, 99.8, it'd be plus minus 31.5. All right, so that's what your standard deviation looks like. And then this over here would be your black swans, essentially. That 0.2%. We're not expecting that in our basic financial planning with a typical standard deviation and an average rate of return of 5.3. All right, so remember, the lower the rate of return, the more volatility will be in terms of downside risk. I mean, it's the same on upside too, but mostly on actually it's really just downside. If you had, well, I'll show you. If you had a 10 point, we'll just say a 10.6 standard deviation, a 10.6 expected rate of return. All right, so now we're going to double our expected rate of return, but we're going to keep our standard deviations as such. And our rate of return, essentially, in this regard, would be similar to historical averages, about a 70-30 portfolio, not quite 10.6, but I'm just showing an example. So we do our bell curve. We say our average is 10.6. All right, so we go plus minus 10.5, plus minus 21, plus minus be 31.5. All right, so in this case, our positive would be 42.1, excuse me, and our negative would be 21.5. So we got 31 minus 21, or 10.6. I don't know what that is. Is it 20.9, I guess? Yeah, so you can see if we had a 5.6 expected rate of return instead of 10.6, this would be minus, what is that? 20. That's about minus roughly 25 or so. And this would be positive 36. So the higher your expected rate of return, the lower your negative is going to be, and the higher your positive is going to be. So when you have an low expected rate of return, and we still maintain a high standard deviation, this isn't even that high. We just did the live stream with Craig Israelson last night, and we showed I think it was about a 20% standard deviation with the S&P 500. So I'm only giving it 10.5. The reason is because we got 30% bonds. Anyway, we don't want if we go back to 5.6, we don't want a 25% downturn. We don't want that. That's not what we're trying to accomplish, especially within 2 years of retirement. No way, Jose. But remember, in this case, I'm only giving you, it's not 5.6, it's 5.3. I hope this makes sense. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I don't script these videos, by the way, so you can probably tell that here's my pen right there. I don't script these videos, so it's 5.3. So if we have a 5.3 expected rate of return and a 10.5 standard deviation, with a 99.8% of the time, we'd expect we could be down as much as 25%. That's a quarter of your portfolio. So if you had $500,000 in your portfolio, you could wake up a year later with 375. And in typical Monte Carlo fashion, you could wake up a year later with 25% lower than that, whatever that is. I don't know. Is that likely to happen? No. It could. Sure. Absolutely. There's no reason it can't. It has never happened before. Doesn't mean it can't. The bond market never got killed like it did last year, and this year too. It's never happened before, but it's happening right now. It's nuts. We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. So what we need to do, in my opinion, and you don't have to agree with me, what we need to do is take this risk off the table for the initial part of retirement. And you go to, what was I looking at? VUSXX. That's the Vanguard. I don't think I think it's a government money market fund, the government bond money market fund. Right now it's paying 5. I think it's like 5.3. All right. What's the standard deviation of the money market? It's roughly about 3%, give or take. So now we go over here. We're getting 5.3 plus minus 3 plus minus 6 plus minus 9. So the worst we could expect to get in our money market, I highly suspect this won't happen. You know why? Because I don't see any way that you're going to have a negative return on your money market. All right, but whatever, we'll just say you could. I mean, because we don't know what the interest rates are going to be. But again, this is a negative return. So even if you had lower interest rates, it's still going to be a positive return. But we'll just go with it anyway, just to show you. 5.3 minus 9, so that's a negative 4%. With a 99.8% probability, you'd have no more than a negative 4%. All right, that's it. That's the worst case scenario with a 99.8% of the time. You're not going to get that on the money market. I mean, theoretically you could. I doubt it. So now we have the same rate of return as we did before over here with, literally it went from negative 25 to negative 4. And again, I find that to be even suspect because the money market doesn't actually go below 0. There's no break the buck in a money market. It could be. It's not, literally. Is it going to happen? Vanguard, I highly doubt it, but whatever, man. Let's just pretend it could. So we've reduced our risk by, 80%. We're getting the same return. Now, people say, but Josh, these returns are based on longevity, long expectations. I said, I get that. But this is literally what we're getting right now. If I'm 2 years out of retirement, I'm like, that looks pretty good to me with limited downside risk compared to this right here with massive downside risk. Same rates of return, limited downside risk. Now, on the other hand, there's not going to be much more than this. You're not going to get on the plus, you're not really going to get any more growth on a money market than your current yield. Just not. So there's really no upside here. Well, potentially there could be an upside here. I just showed you there's a 40, what I say last time, it was like, in this case you could have 5.3 plus or minus 31. You could have 36% on the up with a 25% down. So this is the issue here, is that this does sacrifice potential upside to protect our downside, even though we'll have the same average rate of return. So the question is, this is what I tell people all the time, my hair's a mess. Sorry guys, gotta get that cut. Probably not yet. The facts are, the days of growth in the beginning of retirement, in fact, even in retirement, are over now. That doesn't mean we don't shoot for some growth. Protection is most important. It's a return of principal more than a return on principal than what we're shooting for. At least in the initial, you've never retired. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're going to spend. You have no clue. Now, you might have a pretty good idea, but you never retired. You don't know. So what we're trying to do is protect the down. Protect against the down. If that means we have to sacrifice some up, that's fine. What's the likelihood of you sacrificing up, though, in the next 2 years? I mean, I don't think it's very high, especially in this market. I just don't. I could absolutely been wrong. Been wrong a million times a Sunday. But if I'm wrong and we sacrifice a 20% rate of return, I'm still clocking 5.3 with no downside risk. And all we need is 5.3 in a Monte Carlo to have a successful retirement. So we run these Monte Carlo scenarios and I say, if we get 5.3 with a 10.5% standard deviation, you are good to go. And now I'm getting 5.3 with a 3% standard deviation. Inherently, that means I'm good to go because I'm protected against the downside. And as such, the downside is what hurts you the most in retirement. I'm just telling you right now. That's why we call sequence of return risk and all this. Man, I'd be looking hard at just plowing a bunch of money in money markets right now. I'm not saying you got to put your whole portfolio in. It depends on your situation, man. You got some real estate. I get all that stuff. Everything is contingent on your circumstance. But, man, I would be looking hard. Not a stable value fund. I'd be looking hard at a money market. G fund through the TSP if you're a federal employee or military, absolutely. Money market account, if you have one through your 401k, absolutely. If you have an IRA at Vanguard, Schwab, or Fidelity, absolutely. SPAX, SPAXX at Fidelity's paying 5. Schwab money market, I can't remember the ticker. That's what I have. I can't remember. It's paying around 5. Vanguard's paying, 5.26 or something like that. Man, take the risk off the table. All right, love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget, these videos help you and want to buy me a cup of coffee. It's in the Doobie Duke. I take decaf. You can buy me 1 cup. $5 is preferable. Or you can buy me 5 cups. $25 is preferable. And is your old buddy Josh helping you? Then support the channel, baby. Support. Pony up. I just bought an album from a band called 1,000 Mods. They're touring North America from Greece. And I know they had a new album. I haven't bought the album, but I've listened to their stuff on YouTube for a number of years now for free. So I said, I'm going to buy the album, download it, because I support them. You know what I'm saying? So support what you appreciate for sure. All right. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you